How do you know if you're allocating your capital effectively to maximize your income? Are you getting the best yield on your investments? How do you know? Well, recently I discovered that my friends are really doing this wrong. They're not allocating their capital out effectively and they're not getting the best yields. And they might only be losing a couple % per year, maybe sometimes more than that. And it might not be noticeable in the short term, but in the long term, that adds up to massive gains. So it's really important to know exactly what yields you're getting and whether you can maximize that. So let's dive right in and see how you can maximize your income. First of all, you need to know what your yields are. So I've put together a short little example here of what you could potentially invest in. If you have your money in cash as a 0% yield, then you have an amount of stocks and bonds that you can invest in with varying yields. So how would you know how to allocate your money across these assets? Well, let's look at another example. Let's look at a more simple example, actually. Say you just have cash in the bank and you've got a number of savings accounts. Now, you can put your money into any of those savings accounts that you want and they will generate interest for you. Now, from this example here, you have your cash generates 0 because in itself, the cash will not generate any extra money. In your current account, however, the bank will give you 0.3%. But you've got 2 savings accounts. Now, the first savings account will give you 2.5% return per year, and the second savings account gives you 5% return per year. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video, or if you don't want to pause, that's fine. You can just have a little guess as to how you would effectively allocate your capital across these savings and current accounts and cash. How would you split your money? Now, I'm going to show you the answer now. 100% should go into savings account 2. Now, that might seem pretty obvious, right? You want the highest yield. It's no risk, essentially, unless the bank goes bankrupt. So there's a potential of that, I guess. But essentially no risk because you've got your money in cash earning 0, or you've got 100% earning 5% return. Now, it might be a bit impractical because you do need a little bit of cash on a day-to-day basis. So let's look at more real-life examples. So we go back to the example we had before. Now, you've got £10,000 worth of cash. How do you split that across your investments? Now, let's have a look. The most effective way of doing that would be to put £10,000 into the highest yield investment. And that would give you a return of potentially 18.4%. Now, I've used this is a real example. This is an example from my current stock portfolio. I have a stock which is yielding 18%. I've also got a stock yielding 10%, and I've also got a stock yielding 7.8%. Now, do you think that I've got all 100% of my allocation, my investment in the highest yield stock? The answer would be no. And there's a reason you do this, because you don't know for sure. It's not guaranteed. When it's in stocks, you don't know for sure you're going to get that. But you can guess that, you always want to allocate more capital to the higher yield investments. So your real life example, this is kind of like your optimum, but a real life example might be something like this. You need cash in your life to survive on a day-to-day basis. So from your 10,000, you might keep £1,000 worth of cash just to use as your kind of groceries, pay your bills, that sort of thing. You allocate the majority of your excess cash to stock number 1, which is yielding 18.4%. It's yielding the maximum. Maybe it's a bit more risky, maybe it's not, but it is the highest yield, so you should attribute the most capital towards that. Now, stock number 2 has quite a high yield as well, 10.3%, so I would allocate 20% of my excess cash out to that. And for safety, a little bit in a bond as well at 8%, and it's higher than the stock number 3. So, 8% trumps 7.8%. That is a kind of real life example. Of course, it's up to you whether, you want to put your excess £9,000 in the 18% yielding stock or not. But having all your eggs in one basket definitely increases the risk. while the stock itself might not be risky, it is risky having everything in one investment. For example, putting all of that money into the bond at 8% would be considered risky because all of it is in that one investment. You want to split that investment up. So there you go, just a quick snippet as to how to maximize your returns. Have a look at your yields and just check that you're maximizing your return. Some of my friends, they are allocating their investments across the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and then bonds as well. And if you're a Warren Buffett fan, you'll know he is not a fan of bonds. I mean, why earn 1% per year when you can earn, on average, 10% a year in the S&P 500? It doesn't really make sense to me. But you would always want to allocate your investment across the highest yielding investment. So have a think about that. Analyze your capital, analyze what investments you've made, and see if you can allocate your capital more effectively and maximize your returns. Good luck. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.